Hey, welcome to another episode of Crush This a Monster Truck podcast presented by J Concepts. I kind of forgot to do the layout. There we go. Um, so, once again, thank you for everyone that have been on our podcast. Subscribed on YouTube, on Spotify, on iTunes. Thank you for everything that you guys have done. I made the move to switch around with TJ Tiffany, the FMX rider, because this weekend was awesome. Maybe some people um, may not like that answer. Maybe to do with the once sponsorship deal on my left here on the Crush This logo. But anywho, uh it was a great weekend. Mark finished actually, if you think about it, was kind of consistent. Won the Friday event. Two second places after that. Blockhead basically stole the show freestyle between them and War Wizard, and he also won racing Saturday and Sunday. Lost in the semis, but hey, whatever, who cares? Everyone pretty much had fun and a good time. It was awesome to see the old guard back for the four-wheel drive jamboree summer nationals. I was there crewing, but also was running the display there. Once again, if you see a display truck from us, you have a chance to win $100,000 towards a new Ram truck, and try to get yourself into that drawing, which is free. And it takes like maybe less than 35 seconds to fill out. So go there and try to do that too. While we're at it there, like I said, with J Concepts, big step in, our primary sponsor of our podcast for next year. Look out for a new logo that we just came out with, new intro, commercials for back channel, stuff like that. But go to Crush This at jconcepts.net for 15% off all items there. J Concepts does a lot of RC bodies, RC tires, anything from 10 scale buggies, 8 scales buggies, the 10 scale monster trucks. You name it, they got it. Go take a look at jconcepts.net and get your info and get your stuff there at checkout. Also, go ahead and takes a love to Monster Truck Attitude on Facebook and on YouTube. Even though it says the home of Thursday Night Thunder, I'm tripping over all the words that I'm doing right now, and this is live, so whatever, who cares? Uh, but go take a look at their stuff. It's downhill monster truck racing. It's kind of like a little bit like fantasy football. You put your name in a hat, pretty much. He draws a name, he puts you in a truck, and basically let the truck do the downhill racing and help you win. That's cool. And they've been doing a little special monthly stuff that's going on, kind of like a pay-per-view type deal. So go ahead and take a look at that. Thursday Night Thunder on Facebook and on YouTube. Also, Cole Vennard and limslikeme.org. Go help him out. Help the people that is in need out. If you need any more information, go to lminfo at limslikeme.org or go to the website and find out. It's basically to help out people that have not disabilities, but like a lost arm, leg, something that they may need help on insurance wise. Their program and what they need to do will help you boost to the proper need of the limit that needs to be for you to get help. So go take a look at that, like I said, at www.limslikeme.org. Also, cool thing is go to our spread shop at Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast, myspreadshop.com, and go ahead and try to get some swag, merch. I'm wearing this Heat Wave shirt because it's by far the coolest looking shirt I have seen. I'm not going to model it, but I had to wear it, and it's it's, I guess, what they say, bomb.com. I don't know. I like it, but I like this Night Stalker hat too. So, and then our guests today have some pretty cool crew shirts that they've been rocking out this weekend. So, you want to help us out, get some swag, go crush this on Monster Truck Podcast at myspreadshop.com. Also, message me and Brad, $100 a pop for crew shirts and hoodies. If Brad's Oilers would have won, we'll have dropped it down to 80 for you fans. But hey, blame the hockey team, not Brad. Once again, also, if you want to know why Brad's not here, want to sincerely give Brad and his family my condolences, and our guest on the day too. His lost a lovely grandmother, passed away today, and our thoughts and prayers to him and his family and stuff like that that's going on right now. So Brad, be strong, man. I gave you a phone call. Just want to check up on you and stuff like that. So if anything, if you guys want to message Brad and just give him some lifting prayers and stuff like that, go right ahead. Also, I'll go to Amazon.com to see Bryce Kenny and Gears for Life. Go take a look at that book too. It's a pretty cool book. It's on Amazon.com. Go take a look at that for all that jazz. So right now I'm gonna give a little bit of moment of silence. And then we'll thank our sponsors also, Back Channel Productions and MTRC. And then we'll have our guests, Chris Mormanis and Jeff and Gage Bursey. And we'll have some fun and talk about the Jamboree this weekend. So we'll just start off with that. I can't do the blackout screen. I don't even know how it is. Well, here we go. So. That's my bad.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Geez, I'm having a rough time already. Tongue-tied, technical difficulties, but hey, I already got that over with. Already got that going on. We got here is Mr. President himself, Jeff Bursey, his son Gage Bursey, and Chris Mormanis. How is it going, guys? We'll start with you, Chris. How you been?
Very happy. Very good weekend. I was looking forward to it for a year, and it all went according to plan. I couldn't be happier. That's all thanks to those guys.
How about you, Jeff?
And I tell you, after this weekend, I couldn't have had a better weekend, and certainly renewed a little bit of hope in the industry.
Nice. And Gage, how you been, dude?
Oh, I'm feeling awesome. I think, this weekend will probably be one to remember for a long time. It was definitely an awesome experience.
So we're talking about the 4-wheel drive jamboree that happened this weekend at Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And before we start anything, is this Jesse or who's this?
Yeah, that would be my little brother.
Okay, just checking. He wanted that discount on that Raminator t-shirt. He finally got one. So
he's sitting right here. So
He's actually sitting off to the corner over here. He's got his headphones in watching it.
Oh, gotcha. But yeah, we are talking about the 4-wheel drive jamboree summer nationals that happened in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania this weekend. And man, it was we us as a team at Hall Brothers Racing hasn't been there since man I think like 2021,
2020.
or 2020 probably. Yeah, that's probably 2020 was pretty much the last time we were there. Some shakeups happened in the last few years that almost brought the product all the way down to its core. But the different group of people have came in. It's not even different group. It's the old guard. They formed and tried to get everything back and rolling. And it was cool to bring the trucks back there. Stack lineup with outside the Hall Brothers. You had War Wizard, Blockhead, Dozer. Man, Bad News Travels Fast, and also playing hooky, where he actually had a rough time, but that's what happens when you put a motor in 24 hours prior to getting there and trying to get everything back and running. I know, Jeff, you and Gage were trying to help him out, just being there and helping JR out. Actually, you're helping everyone out, but focusing on that. We also try to help them out. It seems like everyone was trying to help him out just to get the truck running and stuff like that. But I know JR and them will get that truck rolling and get it back to its way of JR would drive a truck. But I mean, for seeing all the people, the content, just the atmosphere, the attitude for me was awesome. Even though we broke a champagne and ammunition, had to change 2 transmissions on Raminator, it didn't seem that way. It just seemed like, okay, that's stuff that we would normally do in general, but there wasn't no pressure. There was no, I guess, Monster Jam-esque stuff. You see in the background, it shows of how everyone's running around like a chicken's head cut off. No pun intended, Chris. And coming around and doing that. Well, it wasn't like that at the jamborees, but one thing I wanted to talk to you, Jeff, about was there was one topic, well, not really one topic, but one thing that really caught my eye and really stuck to me was I was talking to you Saturday morning before I went to do the display. It was around maybe 8, 9 o'clock. And by the way, they had a hover round scooter running around, and I saw the race between Jesse and Tim. Yeah. Tim hit that NOS button on that boy.
Yeah, he did. We got to check
doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. Yeah.
We got 3 36-volt setups going in Jesse's neck, so he ain't gonna lose again.
You're a racer, take slips. But I mean, you talked about, Jeff, about seeing the line of participants. The way I heard last year from people, it was terrible. It was less. There was more participants on Saturday morning than it was the whole weekend of the jamboree last year. So that has to be saying something. But for you, Jeff, hearing that from you, because I consider you and Tim Hall kind of the ones that still follow the program, I guess. I would say Bob probably does, Chandler, but I mean their team kind of left the Jamboree kind of deal before the new ownership and stuff like that happened. But they kind of stuck through it and went and see you guys saw in kind of a distance for it. But Jeff, that moment really stuck out to me. So try to maybe talk about that conversation that we had and what you saw that really kind of, I guess, brought a tear to your eye.
Well, the first thing that I saw was some of the trucks that I remember, just magazine quality trucks. Now, we take it for granted nowadays that you don't, magazine. What is a magazine quality truck? Now, there is no more magazines, where it's all online. Everything's online. But back in the day when I was a teenager and I would see a big Ford on 46-inch turf and fields that Rick Rabb built, and it's like, it was in a magazine, and then I'd see it in real life. It's like going to Disney World. But the biggest thing that caught me Friday morning is we pulled in. Well, we were there Thursday morning, but Friday morning I took Jesse's little mobility scooter, and I took it out to the back gate, and I couldn't believe the lineup of trucks that were coming in to park and show in the show and shine area. And I couldn't get over how many trucks. That line went out the back gate all the way to the road, all the way clear back out to Route 11. And I have never seen it like that since at least the mid 90s. And that was the coolest thing. And it's like, you know what, this return to glory stuff, the terminology, return to glory. And I kept seeing that ad. They might be onto something. And I think they tapped into it. I do believe the entire weekend overall, as far as that kind of participation went, may have been a little bit of a political statement. Basically, we're Americans and we like it the way we will like it, and we're not going to accept anything different.
And for you, Chris, for being there, also knowing the history of the monster trucks portion and the Jamboree portion. I mean, everything that we'll be talking about all ties into one another, especially your history with a certain Bloomsburg star, I guess you may say. For you seeing that and then seeing what they did this weekend, do you see something maybe coming around full circle?
I think so. It was like Jeff was saying. It was definitely a statement everybody was making that they're glad that there's different ownership now. Things are being run tighter, the way they should have been, the way they used to be. I was there last year, and like you were saying, there was definitely far less people last year. There was no big parade going around the whole fairgrounds like there was this year. That's for sure. So
yeah. And Gage, you also you seen everything that came around this year, and I mean, how was your experience with the Jamboree? You brought your old lady out too, which people may not know that she's also in monster truck royalty, being the granddaughter of Tim Mente, and just having just your family and close friends that and also having your truck there. How was that for you, an experience for that this weekend?
Honestly, my experience was very, very old school like. Yeah, granted, I wasn't around for it back in the 90s when I was younger, or not when I was younger, but back in the 90s in general. But when I was younger, I want to say when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7, that was the very first Bloomsburg Jamboree I ever went to. And even then, like, it was a completely different atmosphere. There was a lot of people there. And then it was actually quite a few years before I went back, which I ended up going back in 2020, which I believe was last year. You said Hall Brothers was there. And it was completely different. Like, it was just, more, they focused more on mega trucks, and they were kind of just tuning the monster truck aspect out and just kind of rushing through it. There wasn't as many people there. And honestly, like, attendance for trucks wasn't very good. Granted, it was during, COVID or kind of just after, but, still, like, it wasn't the same as what I remembered. So this year it definitely brought back a memory from when I was a little kid going there for sure.
And you talked about a little bit, Jeff, about before we got online here, that the 4-wheel drive jamboree was a staple of legitimacy. Hello, I can't talk. This is good
You
night.
said it right.
Um, in monster truck racing, you said the NHRA of monster truck racing. Yeah, during the first quarter season, a lot of including yourself, did the Monster Jam side of it. Go in the arenas and stadiums and stuff. But during the spring, but back then, it's not like people may not know that it's not like back then as now. When Monster Jam was over, it was over in like March, and then they may do some shows off and on one hitters throughout the whole year, and may do a couple shows in October and November, just to fill in some time and stuff like that. But when it became the spring, summer, and fall, it was time for the 4-wheel drive jamboree. From hearing the people from Truck World and knowing that it's the only time you get to see Bigfoot versus Gravedigger versus Goldberg. The staple of the trucks there, Bursey, and you have Seasock, which he was there too. Slipco's, Kohlers, Bigfoot, Raminator or Executioner, Paul Schaefer and his toys. You saw those big independent name trucks come out to play. And sometimes during the 2000s, you had the mixture of the 4-wheel drive jamboree, then Pro MT. So you had your double doses of insane drag racing with monster trucks. And so Jeff, you even told me that the goal a lot of times was to make it to the 4-wheel drive jamboree, just to the payout, just the exposure, because from I'll be honest with you, in that gap between 1993, you had 94, 95, 96, then you had 97 with a little bit inside Monster Jam. The only coverage that you would normally see with monster truck racing was Trucks and Tractor Power, and all you would see was the Penda Points Championship from like 93 to 94 to the end of it in 96. So that was all your coverage. And so I'm sorry for taking the room from you, Jeff, but I wanted to let you talk about, the time that when you had the monster truck and what the 4-wheel drive jamboree meant to you in those years.
Back then, like when my formative years of monster trucks, I would run around. Even when I had a monster truck, I would still go because I wanted to be next to those guys and I wanted to watch what they were doing. I wanted to watch the Kirk Dabneys and the Paul Schaefers and the Brian Welches. Those guys were the independent guys that were the backbone. They had big, and even the Hall brothers. I explained to Mark this weekend. I met Mark 30 years ago this past weekend in Bloomsburg. And, I'm like, oh, look at that hot chick over there. Because, remember Mark, he had his long hair. And then I walked out like, oh, my God, it's a guy. And Mark, but Mark was always gracious with me, always gracious, always just great to talk to. And way back when, he had a conversation with me like I was his equal, not like I was a fan. And as he's sitting there roller painting his trailer back then, and now look at where Hall Brothers has evolved to. They're living the ultimate dream. That is the ultimate dream for a guy like me, to have evolved from where they started to where they are. Unfortunately, the business, other than Hall Brothers and Bigfoot and a couple other guys out there, hasn't been able to sustain that kind of sponsorship or that kind of evolution, because we became something different. We went in a different direction with the industry. The Panda Point series back then was the pinnacle. It was the goal that I had. It was what many of us would wish it would go back to. Unfortunately, I don't see it right now that it's going to go there, unless somebody, even the jamborees like this past weekend was as close to it as you could get. Now, if they wanted to go back to Lima and go to Indy and then tie it all together, I've said for many years to go back to that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be drag racing. We can do these cool S tracks. We can do all kinds of different style tracks. But if we just tied 3 events together and made it that legitimate points racing series and put a freestyle point series in on it, now you've got something to sell to sponsors, and the sponsors will pick you up for that, because now you're benefiting more from the sponsors. You're using that sponsorship money to promote their product and to win. And if you win, it's a double positive for that sponsor.
We'll go back a little bit to, actually, no, we're going to talk to you, Gage, 1 second. And, you have a monster truck out, you have your excavator truck, and you did something cool this weekend, which we will talk about later. But is that a goal for you one day to be in the Jamboree?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always been like a well-known show, to me. Like, it's always been an event my dad's always talked about and all that. And then going there and it just seeing how big it was when I was younger, and how it was this week. And I definitely love to do a show there and be a part of it. And even if my truck makes one pass, like I could still say that I did it, and it'd be really cool to me.
Just to interrupt, Cheech, on that, just going a little bit further on what Gage said, our goal as a team is to start working towards bigger shows. We're not ready right now this year. We're not ready for that. I'm still working on getting the truck dialed in, both trucks dialed in. We've got another brand new truck coming out. We already had it out once. And once we get these trucks dialed in, which I think will be here in a couple of weeks, we're going to start aiming towards the bigger shows. We're going to start looking for those bigger events. And I think, the Jamborees are definitely on our hit list.
And we're going to go to you here, Chris, because you have a lot of the but the Jamboree and the foul play motorsports. So we're going to go a little bit and take a break on the Jamboree, because I want to hear about the story about how I met you through the Monster Truck Hall of Fame. Huge historian. I don't know what the stuff that's behind you, it could be just junk, but it's I'm just kidding. But that right there, what's behind you, the collections, the history. If you had the money, Chris, I think you would have your own historical museum, which would be pretty awesome to see. But, being a fan of the nostalgia, the monster trucks, even you still even go to today's shows. I've seen you plenty of times at World Finals, plenty of times at MetLife. So you go see today's monster trucks in general. But for you being a fan, if you would talk to Chris 8 years ago, and you would tell him that, hey, later on in life, you will own a historical monster truck name, and pretty much not being a chicken, but like a phoenix, bringing it back from the ashes to bring this name back. Multiple names, by the way, because you're not wearing the Thunder Chicken, you're wearing the PA Mountain Monster, which, like I said, we'll talk a little bit about this soon. How did the transformation? How did you get into? I don't know if it's you owning it or kids giving you the okay. Just clarifying that, in the position that you are now.
Well, I could tell you the reason why, even though I wasn't around back then, the reason why I am more, you could say I'm more of an old school fan than I am of the newer stuff, even though I support everything. The first monster trucks I actually saw were the TNT trucks. I saw those even before Monster Jam. And I'll give a little shout out to my cousin TJ. He made me a copy of the Tough Tracks Superstars tape for my mom to play for me when I was an infant, just to have something on the TV. And the first trucks I ever saw were USA 1, Gravedigger, Carolina Crusher, Thunder Chicken, all the good names from TNT. And so that is why I'm more of an old school fan than any of the newer ones. But I kept up with that. And like you said, we met at the Hall of Fame. I've been to every Hall of Fame induction, even was there for the first one in 2011. And speaking of 2011, that's kind of what you were asking. That's when I met Kid. I have the best parents in the world because they took me out to Bigfoot Shop in Hazelwood, Missouri. They took me out to Miami, Oklahoma to see Daryl Starbird's museum where Monster Vet and Frankenstein and Wild Stang were outside.
No, it's at Miami?
Yes.
I did not know that.
So
Right.
we took a little vacation in 2011 out to Bigfoots and Starbirds and stopped at the Hall of Fame that was just starting up at the time. We were there in April 2011 before there even was a Hall of Fame induction yet. And on the way home, I guess I was asleep in the back seat because I was only 11 years old. But my mom was like, we're going to pass Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And that's where Christopher's always telling us Kid Rarig and the Thunder Chicken is there. So they surprised me. They brought me to Kid's place. And Kid gave me a ton of pictures and he was telling me stories. And he couldn't believe that there was an 11-year-old kid coming to see him from somewhere, different state, stopping to see him on the way home. And that next year, visited him again in Bloomsburg, and it became a thing every year. I'd go see him once or twice at least. And finally, in 2020, I guess he had a leaky roof at the tire shop, and he called me and said, I know you've asked before about the truck. Well, I think it's finally time to sell it. Would you be interested still? And I about fell over. And I said, absolutely. Just give me a little time to get some money together. And I got a call the next month from Kid's partner, Tom Bites, and Michael Harper. And Michael Harper, with his Georgia twang, was telling me, you better buy it before I do. So it lit a little fire under me. So I made sure I got the money together, and I got it brought home to me by October of that year. And that was just the coolest thing in the world, to say that I had Kid's last truck and that he trusted me to hold on to it. It's always going to be his truck, but I'm proud to be the caretaker of it, And
you came around, and also the process of, bringing back the Thunder Chicken. You debuted that at the Back to Business monster truck show over there, the North Carolina State Fair. Talk a little bit about the procedure of the resurrecting the TNT Thunder Chicken truck.
Yeah, well, again, Unfinished Business was announced. It was a big deal, and Michael Harper wanted me to have it there, and I had done a little bit of work to it, but it was not anywhere near done. And I was like, there's no way I could get it there. I just have no way of doing so. And he said, I'm going to give you a phone number. And that phone number was Trey Myers. And Trey said that I could send it down to him and he would get it all painted up and everything. And then I was like, well, that's cool. So I figured I'd, arrange for a truck to bring it down there, because on Long Island, I don't have room for a trailer at all. So then I got another phone call with a Maryland location, and Mike Vaughters called and said that he'd like to get it running for me to make sure it's actually fully done. It's not just a roller with a paint job. And I was like, okay, well, got some work to do then. So I got it sent down to Trey, and I took a trip down to Trey's, and he had actually given me what was left of the original flip top body. And we used that to trace all the graphics. And that's why when you see Thunder Chicken now, it looks so spot on, because we used every bit of original art we had. And then Mike Vaughters kept calling me and telling me, I got this, and this is how much this will be. If I want to treat you fair, this is going to work. We'll do it this way. And he said, do you want to put ride seats in it? And I said, I know it's not the monetarily smart thing to do, but no, because I wanted it to be as authentic, old school as it could be. And yep, it debuted at Unfinished Business in Raleigh, and it was on display. And then at the end of the night, I got to drive for the first time with my best buddy Mike Fusa in the passenger seat. We went over a set of cars, and I took it down the right-hand lane. And I veered off just a little to the right, the nerd I am, because that's where Dennis hit the telephone pole. So I could say I drove through that exact spot. But it was so cool. That show was the best day of my life. It was the best. And then going forward a little bit, the following year, I made sure I had it out there in Bloomsburg so all the hometown fans could see it. And last year's Jamboree, Joe Sylvester had me drive it out onto the track as a little history lesson. And that's what I've done with it so far. Two shows, but there's time to do more. Just going to have to see what comes next,
Are you ever thinking about bringing it to the Hall of Fame?
That is what I'd like to do next. I just gotta figure out when that will be. It would be nice to do it at one of Jeff's benefit shows. I just don't know if it'll be this September. It might be next May. It could be next September. It all just I'm pretty busy. I just got to figure out when that will be. But that is ultimately what I'd like to do, is have it out there. I feel like it would look really good in there. Another quality Vader's restoration in the lineup at Jeff's place.
So now we're going to enter the door of the PA Mound Monster. We talked a little bit about the Thunder Chicken ordeal. So now we're going to bring all three together here. So Chris, how did you get your okay? What's the story between you and Kid on the PA name? Because Thunder Chickens, even though it was under Kid, it's a completely different, entity as PA Mound Monster. So, and how did you get connected with Mr. President and his son to put the awesome, once again, Trey Myers done body? And then we'll hear the story from you guys, Jeff and Gage, on your side of how this all worked out. So, Chris, let's talk about that.
So, when I got Chicken, Kid had basically told me, you're the new Kid Rary. Take care of everything. Do what you want with everything. If you want to make merchandise with all the names, whatever you want to do, I'm giving my legacy to you, he told me. So I said, okay. I'm like, well, if there was ever something to do with Mountain Monster, I don't like to do things unless they're special. And unfortunately, almost everybody knows the story. Kid sold PA Mountain Monster while he was over in Japan doing the show in the Tokyo Dome for US Hot Rod in '89. And he sold it, and it was gone, and we really don't know past 1990 what became of it. And Kid always says, I never should have sold that truck. He regrets it. At the time, it made sense, but like everybody else, they wish they didn't scrap their truck, part it out, sell it. So I thought, well, Kid's giving me free reign. He wants me to take care of everything. How can I make him happy? He's done so much for me. How could I do something nice? Well, I figured Mountain Monster body, the 79 Ford mold is pretty popular right now. And I asked Trey if he would do one for me so we could put it in the mix. We can get that done up for you. So I had that ordered last year. I didn't know whose truck it was going to go on. I was just hoping that somebody would be available that made sense. And I had asked a few people, and one of my first choices was Jeff and Gage, but I saw that they were booked already for a Versus show, and I was like, that would have been the perfect choice. And then so I kept searching, and there was a few other people that maybe would have done it, but their trucks wouldn't have looked as good. I might not have been as happy with it. And then suddenly I saw an advertisement for the Versus show, and the lineup was different. And I was like, oh boy. I'm like, does this mean they're available? So I called Gage in April, I think it was, and I asked, are you guys available for Bloomsburg weekend? Like, I saw your book for Plattsburgh, but I guess something changed. And Gage said, no, they wanted a different lineup this year. And I said, well, I have an idea. I don't know if you guys are interested. I've been working on this, and I couldn't have asked for somebody that was more enthusiastic and excited about such a project. And Jeff jumped in and said, if anybody calls us, we'll tell them that we're busy, because this is a really cool idea, and I could hear the excitement in Gage's voice talking about it. So they basically were on board from there, and we just did a few updates over the next couple months. Then it was really getting serious 2 weeks ago. Body was picked up and was mounted, ready to go, and it all worked out really good. But I'm just glad that versus Plattsburgh show lineup changed, or else this wouldn't have turned out as nearly as good as it would have, or it wouldn't have happened at all, you know?
So Gage, let's talk about your side of the story here. You know, you get the phone call. What were you guys feeling? What were you guys thinking about this whole idea that would come to fruition here at Bloomsburg last weekend?
So to be honest, I had actually known about it because I want to say Chris had mentioned it actually in a group chat that I'm in with him and a few other people. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that's cool. But I was like, I'm pretty sure I got a show that weekend, which was Plattsburgh. And then like Chris said, luckily the lineup was different. And we weren't booked for that show. We were off that weekend. And I just figured, I was like, that would be a really cool deal to do. And I'm like, bring back something old, something historical. And when he told me about it again, I was like, I'm 100% sure I can do it. And then I was sitting down, and I had come out of my bedroom, and approached my dad about it. And then that's when I had called Chris, up over the phone instead of text. And we started talking more about it. And then, like he said, it got more and more real as the weeks went on. One thing would happen, and then it would increase us getting closer, and we'd get one step in the right direction. I want to say actually 2 days before Bloomsburg, because I've been running my truck and all that, landing on cars, all my 4-link bars were looking a little scratched up and rough, and I was like, I want to make this thing look like a show truck for Bloomsburg. So I went up underneath it in the trailer, all loaded up, laid out moving blankets, painted up my 4-link bars. Just did everything I could to like make this truck look as close as it could to the original one. And I think I did pretty good. I'm not going to say it's exact, but I honestly think it come out pretty decent.
And you, Jeff, I mean, when you heard Gage talking to you about this, and the historical side, I know you're a huge historical person. You normally say you're the first monster truck super fan, but but I mean, what was you going through your head with this idea?
For me, any opportunity to bring back any kind of history that I grew up with, and obviously, I grew up with the earliest of monster truck history, but I remember Pennsylvania Mountain Monster and 4-Wheel Drive Action magazine. I had that magazine forever and ever, and my mom threw all my books away sometime when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. But any opportunity to bring back history and just be able to be part of that is what I wanted to do. When you have an opportunity like that, you definitely got to embrace it. And then, going a little further into it, gotten to hang out with Kid and listen to some stories. And let me tell you something. There will never be a book written on TNT Motorsports monster truck stories. And that's probably a good thing. But if somebody was to write that book, I can guarantee you every single monster truck fan on the planet would own it, because those stories are gold, and you're hearing less and less of them now.
Right. Yeah, but still hearing the stories from some of the TNT guys, and you're shaking your head going, I can't believe they got away with this. Well, that's the testament of time. If people had the same stuff that they did back then with today, it wouldn't have last. But Chris, and Gage and Jeff, we'll start with you, Gage. You guys get to the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds, you park it. You told me, I think, that you really didn't take a close look into the body of the truck, and it was covered on tarp. He tired up with the tarp on and everything like that. What was your uh, expectations? Were you kind of nervous? Obviously, you would know Chris was going to invite Kid. Kid went to Jamboree still. And then we'll go to you, Chris, on your expectations of the truck, and then you, Jeff. But we'll start with you, Gage.
So yeah, I do remember saying that to you. I took it out of the trailer. I pulled it to where it needed to be parked. We threw a tarp over it as quick as we could, and we put the tires on it. So I remember saying to you, like, I haven't even seen what it looked like with the tires on without the tarp on it. And to be honest, I really wasn't worried about how it was going to look, just because I could tell just by seeing the grill only and the tailgate only under with the tarp over it from a distance that it was going to look really cool and it was going to come out good. I know me and Chris actually rushed around. We went to Snell Auto Parts and all that, grabbed tire shine the wheels. Of course, we ended up pulling a couple inches further the next day, so the bottom side that actually didn't get tire shine was the side that was showing, so it really went nowhere. But no, like I said, honestly, like I kind of knew it was going to look really good. And I knew that body just fit that chassis really well. And I couldn't have been happier.
And about you, Chris, I know that's a lot of pressure on you, bringing a name back like the PA Mountain Monster and inviting Kid, and then also the Bloomsburg PA, the people, fathers, grandfathers taking their kids and grandkids to a place, and knowing that they may go ahead and say, hey, I saw that truck when I was, when my dad took me and stuff like that. So what was your expectations, knowing that you had a lot to make this look presentable to a T of what the truck used to be?
Right, and they did say that. I was here the first year I saw this truck, or I was here for the Bloomsburg State Fair in '87, and I saw it crush the limo in front of the grandstands, and people remembered it. I knew that was going to happen because it was the same thing the year prior with Thunder Chicken. The hometown people, a lot of people said they came that year just to see Thunder Chicken. Of course, this year they didn't know this was going to be here. We threw, like Gage said, we threw the tarp over it right away. I didn't want any chance of it being spoiled. I didn't want anybody to call Kid and be like, hey, your truck's at Bloomsburg or something like that. But yeah, the people were surprised, but most importantly, I don't think I mentioned it yet, it was a surprise for him. He had no idea. And it couldn't have looked any better when we pulled the tarp off Friday morning. And then it did end up looking better because Jeff had pulled some mirrors off his plow truck. So we had the same look of the mirrors coming out of the doors. And then we had the inflatable Godzilla behind the roll bar, which is something Kid had in magazine posters from when he did the shows in Hawaii and Japan. And that was the extra little touch for my nerdy self. I was like, okay, it has to have the inflatable Godzilla in the back, because even the local Bloomsburg people remembered it because Kid had it in the truck for their Halloween parade one year. And people said that they remembered that as well. That was really cool. But we got the mirrors on and Godzilla in the back. And Friday morning, I went and grabbed them. And he was like, well, what are we doing? What are we going to do? And I said, well, let's just go to the fairgrounds early. And there's some cool stuff there. Let's go take a look. So I drove right in. I drove him up behind the truck. And I said, all right, Kid, why don't you get out and take a look? And he said, oh, wait a minute. He practically ran out of the car. He ran over. He was so excited. And a couple tears came out of his eyes. And that alone made this all worth it to me. Like I said, he has done so much for me. I wouldn't own a monster truck without him. And it was just nice to do something for him, because when you talk to him, everybody, it's funny because the whole fan base mostly knows him for Thunder Chicken, and that's everybody's favorite. But Kid could give a hoot about Thunder Chicken. It's Pennsylvania Mountain Monster is everything to him. That's where he had his success and won his couple championships and everything. That's what means the most to him. So to bring it back and say, here you go, your Pennsylvania Mountain Monster again this weekend, it was perfect. It couldn't have went any better.
And for you, Jeff, knowing about that, doing the extra mile, someone put down the details make a difference. You're trying to get this going on. What was your expectations when this truck came out in front of the public and especially kid?
I wanted it to look as possibly as correct as possible. Short of having a row of KC lights on the top and the air horns is the only thing we were missing. And I went on a marketplace site and started looking for KC lights, and I might as well just go to the Federal Depository and try to withdraw some gold bars for what they want for KC lights now. These KC lights back from the 80s are worth $150 a piece. So it's like, yeah, all right, well, we can't do that now. But I wanted it to look as good as possible. I wanted the truck to be as clean as possible. Everything about it was the Pennsylvania Mountain Monster. And as people were walking through, and Chris had mentioned that, I'm not sure, people love chicken. That was their truck. They knew because they drove by it every day. So many people drove by that truck when it sat outside Rare Egg's tire forever, myself included, that Pennsylvania Mountain Monster was just kind of a afterthought. But you wouldn't believe, and what it shows me is the connection people have with certain trucks. You do have the generations. You had that. My dad took me to see this. My grandfather took me. We saw this here in this place, in this speedway. We saw her do a car crush here. People do not forget. And in these trucks, Bob Chandler always said Bigfoot's just an old rattly pickup truck. It's more than that. Monster trucks are more than that. They bridge this gap, and they create these memories and these passions in people, whether they're lifelong fans or weekend warriors. They do something to people. And Pennsylvania Mountain Monster had that power over so many people in Bloomsburg. And for them to see it and brought back a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of happiness to, it's a rough world, man. Things are going on left and right. And to bring a little bit of glimmer of hope into people's eyes and hearts was really cool.
So we'll start with you, Gage, here, and we'll go back to all three of you guys. The debut, you take the tarp off the truck comes about, and there it is, the PA Mountain Monster. Chris brought Kid in, and now we're talking about the people. We talked about the people. I brought my son, my grandfather was here, stuff like that. Hearing the stories from people talk about this truck and how it was looking like, what could you tell with the feedback from the people there?
Honestly, the feedback from the people was pretty crazy to me, and it happened very quick, because it wasn't like we did like a special announcement. We had someone with a microphone, we're like, we're doing this, and we pulled the tarp off and unveiled it. We just did it. We just got up in the morning, Chris showed up, and we pulled the tarp off, we put the mirrors on it. I want to say, I forget his name, but he's got that big purple Ford.
Dale.
Yes, Dale. He started this truck up, drove right over, pulled in front of it to get a photo. Once Chris had left to go get Kid after the mirrors were done, another guy with a Jeep mud truck, just a little bog truck, pretty cool, nice looking little Jeep. He started it up, drove right over, wanted to get a photo in front of it. It attracted a lot of people over to it instantly, and photos started coming out and all that. And we weren't even finished with it yet. Me and actually Kid's business partner now had to we were put in charge of climbing up on the injector hat and figuring out how to attach the Godzilla and make it stay in one position where it's going to look good. So we're running a ratchet strap around it and some bungee cords and everything, and we got it to hold. And then it was definitely really cool when Kid showed up. And once he saw it, I mean, he didn't even Chris was trying to get his crew shirt for him, and he didn't even care about the crew shirt. He just took off and went right toward it. So it was pretty cool to watch.
And how about you, Jeff? We'll go with you last, Chris, because, but for you, Jeff, I mean, seeing the expressions of people and, seeing that your boy's truck is, being the focus of attention about, this awesome, I guess, would you say, resto mod type deal.
I said it to Chris several times through the weekend. I says, I'm pretty sure this is the most photographed truck in Bloomsburg. I don't think there was a person that walked by it that didn't take a picture of it, whether they knew the history of it or just thought it was something, and all these people, why aren't you guys running? Why aren't you guys running? And we explained to them it was there as a gift to somebody who created it. And the response was just amazing. The amount of people that looked at that truck, thought it was such a cool truck. And here I am. I'm like, well, behind me is Dozer and Blockhead and all these other really, really cool trucks. But man, they're looking at this truck that we put together here in a few days, and thanks to Chris and making it all happen, it made me feel really good, and also made me feel really good that these people recognize it as an old. They love the fact that it was the older body. They love that '79 body. My dad had one. My cousin had one. I had one, and that was a cool thing. And it always. Every weekend I go out, I always look and see where the more versatility of monster trucks can be, not just with a kind of a status quo type thing. Where else can these trucks go? What else can they do? And it never ceases to amaze me how awesome these trucks are and the fans that love them.
And how about you, Chris, when you debut this in front of the public and in front of the kid? Talk about that.
Well, actually, the first person to see it was Kid's business partner, Bruce. And Bruce remembers the Mountain Monster from when he was a kid because Kid and his dad were friends. And the car lot they operate now was Bruce's dad's property where he sold motorhomes in the 80s, and Kid used to go get his motorhomes from there. Kid's original Mountain Monster hauler was a motorhome, and he put PA Mountain Monster 1987 World Tour on the side. So Bruce has a special attachment to PA Mountain Monster, and when he saw it, he got off his motorcycle, and he ran over to it like he was a little kid looking under the tarp. And that was the first reaction where I was like, this is going to be good all weekend, And actually, I think it was one of the first people that came over. I remembered him from the year before. He was at Kid's first show. Kid did a car crush with Howie Elwell from Stroh Strider in 1980. And it was first time Kid went over cars. It was first show. So a guy that was at Kid's first show and saw the truck the first time out, right after it was lettered, was there and came up and said, "Thank you guys for bringing this back out. This made the year, and I just got here," And that alone was that set the precedent for all the reactions, And it was they just kept coming. Same deal, People remembered it, and then other people were like, "Oh, you were here last year with Thunder Chicken." Not everybody remembers all that far back. Like Jeff said, it's a little bit of a generation gap. People remember seeing Thunder Chicken, but not Mountain Monster. But those that did, they were so happy, and they thought it was really, really cool. And they were sharing their stories of when they saw it and what they remembered from it. So it was an added little bonus after Kid's great reaction that all 3 days fans were coming up and were very pleased with it.
So this is a question for Jeff and Gage. We know that your other boy Tyler is bringing back the Torosaurus Rex, but someone also brought a question saying, Jeff and Gage, is the hope that the restored All-American will bring back to the Jamboree someday?
If there was any question that it wasn't going to be brought there, that all went out the window this past weekend. Because next year we had so much fun just sitting there on display that it was just like next year it'd be a goal to have that truck completely restored and brought to Bloomsburg. Just from a geographical advantage of it being closest to our home base. But yes, I want to plan on that truck. I feel that truck needs to be there. If not, it probably certainly need to be at the Indy Jamboree, since I think it was at the Indy 84 Jamboree or 85. And I just think that'd be really cool. And well, next year is going to be 50 years. So 40 years, right? Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah. Well, no.
So that'd be kind of a cool
38,
anniversary.
I think. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no, the All-American's going to get restored here. We just have to get through building the second Toasaur, the new Toasaurus Rex. Jesse's going to have his mini here this summer too, and then this, then we'll get working on the All-American.
I told Tim, I was like, you know what, they need to bring back the Monster Corral. Just have maybe 10 monster trucks on display.
Yes.
Wooden, like the wooden fence, and
Yep.
have like a pit party going on there. And if the drivers want to get cool hero cards, sign it. It's their discretion. I mean, I don't know. The way I hear it back then was, they brought their trucks. There wasn't no money or any pay. It was just trying to get publicity of saying, hey, I have a monster truck. Next time me a monster truck around town, book me, and there we go. It was a promotional way of life back then. I would love to see a monster corral just to have it, have people take a look at different monster trucks. I understand that some hauling the trucks will be money. It doesn't have to. We don't have to ask Donald up in Indio and Titan to come from California to Bloomsburg just to do a display on Titan. No, we're just talking about if the Hall brothers brought 2 trucks, bring the third one and just park it there for just in case something happens, then you have another truck to go in, or something like that nature. Just have something like that. Have a Torosaurus there, or maybe can get Kyle Seasock to get his it's not sudden impact, but it was John's number 2 chassis that
Liquidator,
yeah.
Yep.
Or bring Nightmare Express, or even maybe just in the general area have a second one and bring Thunder Chicken, and next to it's Lone Ranger, or and see if we can get Gary Ballard to get that Playboy license plate on the front of his Lone Ranger truck.
I want to recreate the bikini shot of All American. There was always a poster with all the bikini girls on the back of All American, but I was thinking it'd be kind of cool to do it with all the same girls. But I think they're in their 70s now, so
man, that'd be rough.
This is the
showing the evolution of monster trucks and the evolution of the human body. So.
The difference is that monster truck, if you get the right parts, will still look the same.
That's right.
But I mean, just have something like that. Like, have a little bit of a historical standpoint. I saw, I think it was one of my first jamborees. I think like 2012 or 2013. I saw Greg Adams and his, Eliminator, or his Rizlone monster truck there. Alan Pizzo had Predator just parked there. Jeff Cook had his truck that parked there. I don't know if they were getting paid just to park there, but they were there. So why couldn't you have a monster corral?
If you at the very bare minimum, instead of a monster corral, a Hall of Fame road show. You wouldn't need, if you couldn't get multiple monster trucks, maybe you put one together with a Hall of Fame road show. One of the classics, one of the originals goes to these events or whatever, and the Hall of Fame has its own section, or not even so much the Hall of Fame, but a historical road show where merchandise maybe would pay for it. I don't know, that the possibilities are endless, but if you actually could put on a display of the evolution of trucks, it'd be really cool. That way people can see where they came from, where they've been, and where they're going.
Right. And then like have, trucks even outside of that have, like for instance, you guys having the PA Mound Monster, Torosaurus, all the way to someone maybe debuting a truck that year that they put together and they don't know who to talk to, or who to go after or who to trust with their equipment to be with these promoters and stuff like that, or racers in general, they can debut their truck there, just and just for best way to do it is just go to the jamboree and let the jamboree give you access, so it's kind of free in general, but still it's just an idea. I think that'd be pretty cool to have. Like I said, it doesn't have to be so far away. Anyone could be in the region, eastern part of the United States, that want to make a hike, or if they even so being a 8 to 10 hour drive for a display or something like that. Yeah, that's a semi with gas prices is always a hectic way of life, but
things will get
you know,
better.
things are getting better, and also at Indy, if who's ever around Indy, Indy's close to Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those places can bring their vehicles over and you can do a display, stuff like that. So that was, I was just thinking, I always thought, seeing the, hopefully like having a monster corral and, monster trucks in the 4-wheel jamboree seems pretty, like super glue or Velcro, really stuck together, which wanted to let everyone know that next week's guest is a person that kind of took the reins of the Jamboree, and he's going to be our guest for next week's Joe Pagano. Uh, he does the announcing stuff for the Jamborees and stuff like that. He'll be on next week. We'll talk a little bit of a history lesson about that, and talk about how this week went for them, and with the Jamborees and stuff like that. But any social media people can follow you at, would start with the Bursey family.
Yeah, I have a Facebook page for the excavator now. I had one before, it got hacked, so I had to create a whole new one, but it's just named the Excavator Monster Truck. I did make a Mount Monster post on there yesterday, I believe. And if not that, I have an Instagram account, just Gage Bursey, or you can get my personal Facebook, which is, just Gage Bursey as well. But yeah, that's what I have for social media right now.
And I'm pretty low tech. You get me on Facebook, or you can just call or text me. I'm still, navigating the high tech world, but I'm usually pretty accessible if you ever just want to call and talk.
Before we get to the social media part for Chris, JR, and they're playing Hook You Monster Truck, wanted to say, can't thank you enough, Jeff, for all your help this weekend. Truly appreciate it, and an honor to have you there all weekend long.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, JR. I didn't do a whole lot. I just remained calm and try to keep a level head and try to figure things out. To me, it's always a challenge, and I've been where you are many times, JR, and you'll get it. Sometimes it'll get worse before it gets better, but the bottom line is it'll get better, and that's a good thing.
Yes, sir. And how about you, Chris?
Well, the Facebook page would be Foul Play Monster Trucks, FOWL, and the Instagram would be Foul Play Motorsports.
All right. And one thing my grandfather always told me, Jeff, you have to deal with crap before you can grow flowers.
Well, I deal with a lot of that. these flowers just ain't sprouting yet. Come on.
But
we're getting there, man. We're getting there.
It was fun for me seeing everyone, and then, having, Brandon there with Bad News and JR too. It's gonna suck not seeing them in September. We're gonna have the Throttle Monster team there, towards Jurassic Attack and Kamikaze. So we'll have a 3D body truck there, so it's not bad. But for me, it's just it was an awesome experience, good vibes, cool seeing everyone having fun with their trucks, going around everything. We just knew coming into the Jamboree that like the tents that had all the products like Skyjacker and all of them, it was going to be really low. Hopefully for Indy, we'll have the word of mouth on how awesome it was, and people will come back tough trucks will come back for Indy, and stuff like that, and see all that. That was still good. That was good racing in general. That S course. I don't know what you call the tough truck track, but yeah, that was phenomenal racing. Haven't seen that in quite some time. This year has been a good year for monster truck racing. Um, and
We
that
talked
was
about
fun.
it. I talked about it, Cheech, with you over the weekend. The business is changing. I've never been one to put props in one company's pocket, but I will tell you that the World Finals produced some of the best racing we've ever seen this year, and it made the freestyle pale in comparison to that, which I think put the emphasis back on racing. And now we've got promoters that are putting longer tracks in, S tracks, multiple lap tracks. I don't think the equipment will be able to consistently sustain those long tracks, so that's going to force us now to evolve the trucks even more. We're going to get into a whole new technology of horsepower, which I've been looking at a lot of. I know a lot of guys have been looking at, and I think that's going to be the best thing for this industry. And then the indoor shows is you're going to have those 5-year-old kids that are going to be just loving every minute of it. And so it's a two-sided industry, but we're going to work together, and it's just going to keep growing now. It's going to grow in a positive direction.
That's so cool, man. Thank you for being on, guys. I do appreciate it. We bust out an hour and 10 minutes here. Hour and 55 minutes of this program was me stuttering. But still, I gotta rip on myself once in a while. But once again, guys, thank you for being on. Also, short notice too. It's just the weekend was so awesome that I told TJ, I was like, "Hey, man, we're gonna hold up a little bit. I have something here that I really want to talk about." And thank you for all three of you guys for actually coming in last second notice on doing this episode this Tuesday for that. And I do appreciate it, and thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
No problem, Chief.
No
Thank
problem.
you. And it's the people. The people were there this weekend, the people that we made lifelong friends with over the years. It was great to see them. And I'll say this in closing, Chris, is it true what they say?
Took it right out of my mouth.
It was like 1987 all over again.
Man, once again, thank you. And Chris, thank you for bringing that and, connecting the Bursey family to bring back the PA Mile Monster. And hopefully, when the time is right, we'll see PA Mile Monster rocking a monster truck track.
It's not going away. This wasn't just a one-time thing. It'll be back out there at some point. We just got to figure out when. That's all.
Now you got to talk to some brothers in Illinois to see if you can put a Dodge first gen on a body and call it Madman.
We'll see when we get to that.
Never thought of that one. They do that. I'm putting the 84 Big Boss on.
Yeah. The big. We're trying. I'm talking to Mark and Tim about this. Me and Kurt are gonna try to recreate the Big Boss.
That would be cool.
Mark has all the paperwork of all the dimensions, all the metal, everything like that. Tim has told us what type of motor to go after. We gotta find. We may try to talk to Trey to see if we can probably, get the. I think it would be the second gen version of Big Boss would probably be, or maybe no. We can go to the Brick Nose. Virginia Giants Trey's body, right?
Yep.
It's a bullnose.
Yeah, bullnose. Yeah.
Yeah,
we could
You
do
got
that.
the tailgate on the wall in the shop, right?
Yep, we still have the
Pull
tailgate.
tailgate off.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, that was all hand painted by their old crew guy Daryl, who passed away. But still, that's still cool, and we're gonna try to produce that. I think that'd be pretty cool to bring back. And it's awesome how Mark and Tim still have all the information of that truck, and we'll try to push it through. I mean, we have some old Goodyears that are kind of ripped apart in the back, but we can maybe fix them up, maybe something like that. But we're gonna try to push it. We're gonna try to bring back recreate the Big Boss and go from there. So That when you said that, Jeff, that tickled me, because I was like, we're trying. We just it's coming out of our own pockets. The brothers may help, but me and Curtis are going to try to push this, and we gotta save money outside of our busy schedule of the Ram and Monster Jam and monster trucks in general. We do this on the side, and we're gonna do it. I think it'd be cool. So we'll also have to talk to Keo Show or someone like that so that we don't get sued. But maybe Tim and Mark can sweet talk them since they sponsored the truck beforehand. But we want to do that. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
I don't know. The Dodge Madman's pretty cool too. So
yeah,
it sure is.
That'd be pretty cool having that. That'd be pretty cool if we can have that there, and then have Dennis and Kid Rarick hanging out in front of it.
That would be cool.
I'm gonna try to get the guy that actually built the truck, Jim Vina, when it was called Mudman.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna try to get him out to one of these events one time. He's been talking about it. He'd like to appear with the truck at least once. So that's something maybe we can look forward to as well.
Did you ever try to find those rims that Thunder Chicken had that was on the Madman truck? Those heavy sons of guns.
If anybody knows what happened to them, they could talk to me.
I gotcha.
I don't know where they are. I found my own set, but I'd like to find the originals with the Goodyears if I can. Maybe someday.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool. It wasn't Firestones. It was Goodyears originally.
It was Goodyears back then. Vina bought the set of Goodyears with wheels from McCord in 1984. So, just like a lot of other people did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, McCord was also, I think, the same company that you got those chrome rims, right? They only sold those for a little bit. What was it?
Midwest Wheel is what.
Oh, okay.
Everett Jasmer and Bob Chandler, Deal Wilson got their wheels from.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, thank you guys. Thank you so much. We're gonna have Joe Panatine. I can't pronounce your name, but he was part of the 4-wheel drive jamboree. He interviewed me during this weekend, and maybe try to get something going on where next year's jamboree, if it happens and stuff, like if we do it again, hopefully, we may do a live podcast airing or recording during the jamboree and stuff like that, like a Pat McAfee show or something like that nature. So that'd be pretty cool to have. If Jeff's there at Bloomsburg, all I have to do is give him a microphone for an hour and I can go eat lunch.
That's all.
That's
take
all.
Care of it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you and I should sit and have just a total history lesson we'll sit in a tent. They'll give us a tent and you and I'll just talk to people.
Yeah. They're going to put us on stage, which would be pretty cool. So we can bring people out. And that's one thing I think the Jamboree needs to do for Indy or maybe next year at Bloomsburg is bring the drivers out and have another Q&A. They did that a lot prior to everything changed hands and stuff like that. But I think that'd be pretty cool to have it. They didn't just do it where they had a Q&A with just the active drivers that were racing at the show. They were interviewing everyone that was in that show that had their 2 cents in the monster truck world, which I think that's something that'd be pretty cool to do. And if the podcast does that, that'd be pretty cool also. And then just talk, and I need to get a lot of these microphones and maybe a camera, and probably have Cheech and Bursey.
There you go.
Cheech and Bursey's coffee hour.
If we ever have our trucks there, we can, you and I can sit there and we got to do the podcast as we're actually working on the trucks, and you can hear the way I parent my children. There's a bleep button right here. So. Oh my God, why would you call me that?
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for so much. Thank you again for being on. Thank you, fans, for also being on, watching this podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Give us 5-star likes on iTunes and Spotify. tag us that you're watching this program, share this program, take a picture, share it, saying, hey, I'm watching Crush This. Try to get this ball rolling and flow rolling, and try to grow. And I guess because of everyone dropping out, we just became the only Monster Truck podcast. So I'm okay with that. Doesn't bother me one bit. If anyone else does anything, that's cool. Bring it out. Don't be afraid of doing that. Bring stuff going on. But once again, guys, talk to a friend that needs need. I've been contacting Brad. He's been having a little bit of a rough week. I understand that. But talk to a friend. Donate blood, always. Good friend Matt Schultz always brought that up. Try to help out with United Red Cross, Central Blood Bank, stuff like that. Go talk to them and help you out. But once again, guys, thank you again for being on. Thank you for J Concepts. Thank you for MW1 Entertainment, Back Channel Productions, MTRC, Colby Marshall and his stuff, and Hall Brothers Racing. Once again, that's Brett Shaw. I'm Dan Chichagosh. Keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up. Bye-bye.